your team's still selling features, your packaging is broken. Most CEOs focus on scaling sales, but they overlook pricing and packaging as core revenue levers. When your pricing aligns with the value you deliver, value-based selling becomes second nature, discounting drops, and revenue growth accelerates. You don't need a new product. You need a smarter way to package what you already have. That's a quote from Roee Hartuv and a sneak peek at today's episode. Hi there, I'm Carrie Curran, revenue growth strategist, go-to-market advisor, and host of Revenue Boost, a marketing podcast. Every week, I sit down with the sharpest minds in marketing, sales, and strategy to unpack real-world tactics that drive measurable revenue growth. No fluff, just bold, actionable insights to help you outpace your competition. If you're serious about scaling smarter, hit subscribe and let's boost your bottom line together. Today's episode, Packaging and Pricing, the key revenue strategy most CEOs miss. I'm joined by host Roee Hartuv. He's a pricing and packaging expert helping B2B companies unlock hidden revenue and high ROI. In this episode, we discuss the critical growth lever most CEOs miss and how that lever leads to faster expansion, stronger retention, and more confident salespeople. Stay tuned to the end where Roee shares a practical action you can take today and where you can find free resources to help you get smarter about pricing and start driving revenue growth today. Let's go. Welcome, Roee. Please introduce yourself and share your background and expertise.
Yeah, hello. Thanks for having me. So my name is Roee Hartuv. I'm right now focusing on pricing and packaging. I'm an advisor on these things. In the past 5 years, I've been working in the broader area of go-to-market excellence, focusing on transforming go-to-market strategies and operations. And before that, I was a SaaS seller, I would say, or software seller.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Roee. We're excited actually have you back. This is your second time with us. So we wanted to dive in. Last time we talked a lot about different stages of go-to-market with the focus on customer success and the importance of retention and net recurring revenue and gross recurring revenue. But I want to dive into kind of what you're focusing on now. So talk about willingness to pay and what your specialty is within your new company.
Yeah. So in the past 5 years, I focused on helping companies generate more revenue growth, right? Everybody's after that. And there are the classical tools out there that everybody's talking about how to increase revenue, which is let's improve processes, automate. Everybody's now talking about AI, being more productive, how to increase win rate, how to lower churn. It all comes down to, hey, let's do better processes, faster processes, train our teams better, etc. Mm-hmm. And I've been doing it for 5 years. I discovered something that I did in the past, and I came to the understanding that there's one thing that probably provides the best ROI in how to grow revenue. It doesn't only present the best ROI, it also I believe is the quickest, mm-hmm. and in a lot of cases it's the simplest way, which is improving your pricing and packaging. And that once I realized that, this is where I wanted to spend most of my time, right? Like helping companies improve or increase revenue mm-hmm. by getting their pricing and packaging right. Much simpler than training the team, than redesigning the go-to-market strategies, introducing new playbooks, trying to figure out how AI could help us with all that, right? Pricing and packaging is still, I believe, the fastest way to increase revenue.
Yeah.
So what it needs to pay, that's what we do. We're pricing and packaging. This is what we focus on. And yeah, we've seen great results doing that.
Excellent. No, I believe it, right? You and I talked a bit before about how challenging it is for a lot of companies to make those pricing changes. And to your point, a lot of work goes into reducing costs and increasing efficiency to reduce costs when there's the other side of it on pricing. So tell me, when your clients or prospects call you, like what are the questions or the business challenges they're trying to solve?
Yeah. So when they do talk to us, they understand, right? Because we're specializing in pricing and packaging, they understand that they have a pricing and packaging issue.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say most of the companies out there have a pricing and packaging issue. The reasons for that is when you think of it, until you're like an enterprise, nobody's really responsible for pricing.
Yeah.
There's no owner. Like everybody's responsible, but nobody's responsible. Is it finance? Is it the CRO? Is it product marketing? Nobody really owns this. So what happens is we set the pricing and packaging very early on. We test it a bit. Usually, let's increase pricing, lower pricing. And that's basically it. We add more products, we add more features, we give more value, but we hardly update our pricing.
Mm-hmm.
We don't react to the market dynamics and adapt our pricing and packaging. So, right, yeah. An example, I just started to work with a company. They added an AI feature, fantastic feature. And their way to charge for that, okay, the AI package costs $5,000 a year. What's the value that it provides?
Mm-hmm.
Probably what, 100x of that? But that's what they're charging.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the problem is most companies don't adapt, don't change, don't revisit, and that's a shame. And yeah, that's the classical saying of leaving money on the table. So
definitely, literally leaving money on the table. So
yeah.
what are some of the business challenges specifically that they realize they need to solve through the better pricing and packaging?
So a lot of the and yeah, this is something that also is talked a lot. Value selling,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the number one problem that we hear is that our sellers, our CSMs, they only talk about features. When they need to sell, they talk about features and they do a transactional sales, compare our features to the competitors. When CSMs, account managers, want to upsell, hey, this is the new feature, this is the new product, start to use that. And it's all around the product itself. The challenge is how do we make them talk about value? And in my previous work, we always, hey, like everybody knows that, let's start talking about value, about impact, business outcome. But when you have the wrong packaging, or packaging that is not aligned to the business outcome, to some say the jobs to be done of your buyers, sellers really, it's very hard for them to actually talk about the jobs to be done, the business impact.
Yeah,
So
no, I agree. Yep. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying that I think that's the biggest challenge that we hear when we get called.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, that ties to a lot of the challenges to, in a bigger picture, right? Of like how you're messaging and selling. And as you said, like adding on features versus solutions. And it sounds like too, there's other goals or goals within that of increasing revenue or average contract value, or even using it to decrease churn. So a lot more layers to it than just generally increasing pricing to drive more margin, for example.
Yeah. So usually when we start off, we talk to the CEO or the CFO, maybe the CRO. they always have this gut feeling that they're leaving money on the table.
Mm-hmm.
And you can hear that, like, we need to increase pricing. Why? Because we believe that we can charge 50% more, double of what we're charging right now. We're
Mm-hmm.
giving away massive amounts of discounts because, we don't know how to price correctly. Our churn should be lower because, I think our pricing is not correct to how our customers use the product. So during those conversations, there's a lot of, let's define what are the objectives. And
Mm-hmm.
when I started to research and learn about this, I was surprised that through getting pricing and packaging right, you don't only solve, hey, let's increase our ACV or our revenue by whatever, 50%. You solve a lot of other problems
Mm-hmm.
that in my previous role, the toolkits that I have, it's like, okay, your sellers are giving away discounts. Let's teach them, train them how to negotiate better.
Mm-hmm.
But if we build the right packaging around value and have the conversation around impact, that's probably, I believe today, that's probably a better way to do that.
Yep.
And when we have churn because customers think that they're spending too much and they're not utilizing some features that you're charging them for, that's a problem with the packaging. So if we
Mm-hmm.
can fix that, we can also fix churn. So there's a lot of different elements that could be fixed around the go-to-market if we get the pricing and packaging right.
Yeah, it's so smart, and I see that, like, how this makes so much sense. And before we dive into kind of some of your strategies and how you help, we know it's not that simple. A lot of companies and business leaders struggle with increasing pricing. So talk about some of the hesitations, or just in general advice or handholding you have to provide before they're ready to make the changes.
Yeah, so the hesitations, the two most common ones we hear is, first of all, coming from the right side of the quota, right? The post-sale
Yep.
team,
Yep.
customer success, account managers. Hey, if we increase our pricing, our customers will leave, right? So that's the number one fear that we hear. Second fear that we hear is we're already giving away a lot of discount just to win deals. If we increase our pricing, then we'll definitely, our win rate will drop, and of course, growth will stall. So that's how what we usually hear. There are different mitigation risks to both, right? So the process that we developed has what, 4 different steps. So first of all, when we come out with a new pricing and packaging, first of all, we do an internal validation. This is where we ask the different team members, the sellers, everybody get their opinion. But we have a methodology to ask our existing customers. So
Mm-hmm.
we talk to 5, 10, 20 of our closest customers and present to them. And we walk them through. And we, of course, we don't present a pricing page here. Hey, here it is. And it will cost you $20 per seat or whatever it is,
Yep.
right? So we have a methodology that we take them step by step and breaking it down. Is it a value proposition problem that we have that is not aligned? Is it a packaging problem? And then we present under the packaging the features that go under the different packages. Does this make sense? After we do that,
Mm-hmm.
we present the pricing model. Hey, it's per seat, it's per contract, it's per API calls, it's a credit model, etc. What do you think about that? Yes or no? And then we move on, and only at the end we present the pricing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is we present that in the end because we know that pricing, everybody, in a lot of cases, when we increase pricing, nobody likes to pay more.
Right.
But
Right.
that's that. All right, so that's that. Those interviews with our closest customers.
Mm-hmm.
Then we test it out with the new business, the salespeople. and we don't roll it out for the entire team. We take like a domino team and we test it out with a few sellers, with a few customers. Hopefully, if we build it correctly, we pass that test as well. And then we roll it out for the entire sales organization. And then we're ready to migrate our existing customers. And our existing customers, of course, we don't roll it out for everybody. We roll it out for the ones that we see that they're not likely to churn. And we, again, mitigate. We see how we can segment that and do it step by step until we get everybody to migrate. And that entire ordeal that I just presented takes anywhere between 12 to 18 months.
Wow.
That is what it is.
Yeah. So, talk about, obviously you have a very mathematical approach. You talked about research, interviewing clients, customers, sales team members. So there's also there's a qualitative and a quantitative approach to this. And you and I were talking earlier. Throughout my career, when I first started building scopes and proposals, we were like, okay, I think this pricing is good. Like, oh, I kid you not, and this goes way back, but we'd say, oh, make the number uneven so it feels like we actually like had a process versus just saying $5,000. Then, later on, we definitely were basing it on the cost, the head count, the overhead, the margin that we needed to hit. But other times, I've seen it, to your point, like it's based on market tolerance or competition. There's so many ways to do it. So talk about kind of what you've seen or how you're finding the best way to go about that.
Yeah, it reminds me, before I answer that, it reminds me of a story. So when I think in my first sales leadership role, I joined an early stage company where we're at like 1 million, and every time it was like how much we charge. And then, okay, let's start standardizing the way we price our services. So we had a proposal on the table to a German automotive company. And it's like, okay, we need to systemize that. Like, let's use that. So we went and looked at how much IBM, which was doing something similar in the GSID market, let's see how they are packaging. So IBM, I don't know. I remember at the end, the number was around $700,000 for that German OEM. Yeah, they didn't take us serious, right? Nobody called us again. And still probably one of my biggest mistakes at that time, because again, it was like, anywhere between 15,000 to 700, and we chose 700,000 as our pricing.
We're right, because it's sometimes that works. I think a lot of startups that works, but the data, having the methodology is definitely stronger. So sorry, go ahead and share your kind of approach.
Yeah, so there are two ways I would think, or two stages that you need to solve for. The first stage is early stage companies. We're not going to answer that. Usually we work with more mature companies, scale-ups that already have a decent amount of customers. And the information is basically on their customers. Like, let's see your customers, how much they're currently spending. Let's see the ranges, why this segment or this industry or this size of company are willing to pay this amount compared to this. And usually we find the answer within their current data. And then we start to play, we model that, and we start to play with the pricing. So we define the packages, we define the pricing model. There's also a cool trick that we do is like we get the competitors' pricing and trying to see how much the customers could potentially pay if they move to the competitors. Usually there's just a gap there that we say, hey, this is the potential, right? Because if they don't pay us, they will pay to the competitors. Usually there's a gap there. And we model different options, and and based on that, we decide on how much we charge. And we always connect that back to the objectives that we defined in the beginning of the project.
Yeah, that's
And
no,
those
that's yeah.
objectives could be, let's double the revenue, let's increase ACV, let's lower the churn. And each one of those objectives influence how we price and package.
No, it's so important, and it's. I love that you have a framework, so it's not arbitrary, but it's, to your point, you're not just adding cost or adding dollars or to the contract, but actually repackaging it. So talk about how you're then taking all of that data and packaging it differently, it's segments or verticals to kind of come
Yeah.
up with different options.
Yeah. So the packaging actually is a separate exercise.
Okay.
So what I've just described is talking usually around the pricing point. The packaging is around, we like to package around the value for the customers, or sometimes we refer to that as jobs to be done.
Yep.
What is the customer actually trying to achieve, and can we package different products based on that? Compared to what most companies currently do out there is the good, better, best kind of packages, break down the features statistically. Most of 100% of our clients use these features. So this is our good. The better is like the additional 25. And then the 5 or the 10%, this is the best, and we will charge them much higher. This is based on features. This is based on products.
Yep.
We believe that the better approach is to package based on jobs to be done, the business outcome. And that allows for better conversation all around. When you sell or upsell or expand, we believe that's the better approach.
Hey everyone, it's me, Carrie Curran. If you're a B2B company that sells to marketers, whether you're an agency, MarTech, or AdTech, and your revenue is either flattening, declining, or just not growing fast enough, I can help. I've spent my entire career selling, marketing, and servicing marketers, so I know firsthand the challenges they face, the buying decisions they make, and what actually moves the needle. The truth is, most marketing strategies aren't built for revenue growth, but mine are. As your fractional Chief Growth Officer, I'll bring revenue-focused marketing strategies designed specifically for selling to marketers, deep expertise in agency, MarTech, and AdTech buying behaviors, modern go-to-market strategies that include everything from brand awareness to driving loyalty and retention, and a track record of doubling and even tripling revenue for B2B companies just like yours. So if you're tired of your stagnant results and you're ready to build a marketing engine that actually drives revenue, let's talk. Visit revenuebasedmarketing.com or connect with me on LinkedIn to schedule a consultation. Together, let's build a smarter, more profitable path forward. RBMA, Revenue-Based Marketing Advisors, we're revenue-based marketing that works. Yeah, and that's so smart because I think part of it, you talked about how you roll it out to existing customers. And I know that is a bit of a precarious situation because you don't want to, as we talked about earlier on, scare them away. I was sharing an example of somewhere that I started working, and before I got there, they had just arbitrarily increased pricing and a lot of customers left. And I was like, no, you can't just go in and say we're increasing pricing. So talk about, that presentation and that narrative and messaging so that they understand you're not trying to price gouge them. You're really just repackaging and positioning everything.
Yeah. So if we repackage around value, around business outcomes, it creates an entire conversation. It's a much better conversation to have, makes everything easy. This is where my expertise in my previous roles were like, okay, that's a lot of coaching and a lot of skilling and practicing with the sellers what to say in those situations. Right? A lot of objection handling. Let's create, like, if they say it's too high, I don't understand, why am I moving? So we come prepared to those type of conversations. And it's all around. In some cases, we just flat out say that, hey, we haven't changed pricing for 5 years. You were with us from year two when we were a small startup. We added this amount of value. We never asked for this. It's about time that you pay. We're actually losing money on you. We want to be successful. You want to be successful. Yeah. You say it nicely, and the other side usually understands. I'm not saying that they agree, but they understand the rationale behind that. That's usually the easier conversations to have when, there's such a big gap there. And you've been underpaying for a long time. In a lot of cases, it's around, hey, our new customers are already paying this amount. It's time that it's not fair for our new customers, and we need to make sure that everybody pays the same rate. So there's different type of this conversation after creating, preparing, role playing. It is in a lot of cases received nicely. Having said all that, we do lose customers.
Yep.
Right? Then that's a natural part. And I mentioned about the risk mitigation process that we have. In a lot of cases, this is the type of conversation that I have with the customer success head of customer success, account management, or even the CEO. And we can talk about like the unit economics and the cost structure. We don't usually measure that. But do you really want to keep the customers that are underpaying you, that maybe you're even losing money on them?
And burning resources. Yep.
All that. Like, it's also an opportunity to flush out all those customers that you believe are not paying enough.
Right.
Yeah, if there's a customer that keeps on adding, he's getting premium support without paying for that. He's getting features without paying for that. Yeah, we want to either correct how much we charge, and if they're not willing, then we might not want them as a business. But the good story is we sometimes lose customers. There's a certain amount, but the revenue side, like the upside that we get from all the ones that do want to keep working with us, like the revenue there justifies that. So a lot of things that I say for the head of customer success, you're right to measure churn by logos, but let's also move away and measure churn or retention by revenue. And I promise you that the revenue will increase. Yeah, it might not look good that you're losing some logos because of the new pricing, but I promise you the revenue will increase dramatically.
Yeah, that's so smart, and I like your approach of presenting that it as what they're getting for what they're paying. And to your point, taking the other business perspective of it. If they're burning resources, they're not a great fit for your long-term growth. And there's other benefits, for your sales team and the business to repackaging and repricing and shifting it more to value-based. So talk about kind of how it helps beyond just the revenue growth.
Yeah. So I remember back in my previous role, we always talked about let's do value selling, let's focus on impact, etc. And we always like train your sales team, or we train the sales team. It's all about impact. It's all about value selling. But I came to realize that if you don't have the right packaging, which is based on the different types of impacts that the customers can or will achieve with your product, it's really hard to have that conversation.
Yeah.
And if you package it correctly around the different impacts, then the conversation naturally flows into that direction and not into features and our product is much better, and where we have a premium, we have a better support function, or we're cheaper, whatever that is, right? Because you always compare your different features to the competition.
Yeah, no, that makes so much sense. And I think too, it just back to today, B2B marketers are catching on to the client-centric narrative, messaging, selling versus, as you mentioned earlier, product focused or feature focused. So it definitely aligns with that. And I can see how it would be really beneficial across the
Yeah.
organization. So for people who are listening today and they're like, Roe's on to something here. What do you recommend is like the first thing that they do to kind of get started with looking at their pricing?
Yeah. The first thing, increase pricing by 5%. Right? It
Across
goes
the
against
board.
everything that I just said
Yep.
in the past 30 minutes.
Yep.
However, we don't do that.
Yeah. Yep.
If you're not raising your pricing, just raising your prices year over year,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you're leaving money on the table.
Yeah.
Like look at Salesforce, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Salesforce have it in their contract that they're raising their prices that your pricing is going to increase year over year, right? 5 or 7%.
Yeah. Yeah.
Inflation is real, right? And
Yeah.
it affects all of us as businesses as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So before you go into a big restructuring, pricing, and packaging project, yeah, just increase your pricing.
That's so smart. And
Allow yourself to do that.
yeah, and then when they're ready for something more robust, Rory, how do they
Yeah.
get in touch with you?
So before they get in touch with me, there's a lot of information out there. Even on our website, there's a lot of do-it-yourself kind of approaches. Willingness2pay.com. Check that out. Yeah, in today's world, our IP is basically everybody's IP. It's all there in the documents, in the videos. But if you do want additional help, yeah, reach out to us either on the website or follow me on LinkedIn. Reach out on LinkedIn. That's the best way.
Excellent. I'll put that all in the show notes. But Roy, thank you for joining us again. Always enjoy our conversations, and I learned so much from you. So thank you.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
Thank you, Roe, for another incredible conversation. His insights on packaging and pricing are a must listen for any CEO or go-to-market leader looking to scale smarter. If you found this episode valuable, please leave a review and hit subscribe to Revenue Boost. And check the show notes for links for Roe's work at willingness2pay.com and his LinkedIn profile. For more tools and frameworks to fuel marketing-driven revenue growth, visit revenuebasedmarketing.com. Until next time.